I normally don't like to hate on games or their mechanics unless it is really bad or it takes away from the overall experience. But even with that being said, Ghost Simulator doesn't have either of those problems in the way you're thinking. But before we get into it, you might be asking why this little channel that has zero credibility towards anything is bringing up these issues when pretty much no one else has, and with it being the most complex video I've made so far. Well, I started playing the game originally just a few hours after it originally released. I remember that it was super early in the morning for me. I'm talking maybe 4 a.m. And before school started, I looked on Roblox for a game to start getting into because I had just finished the Tycoons made by Thunder, if anyone remembers those ones. I do recommend them if anyone wants to look those up, by the way. But I was looking on the recommended page, and that's when Ghost Simulator showed up. And just out of curiosity, I checked when it came out because I had played quite a few simulator games and I've never seen this one. And sure enough, it was released on the same day I found it. So I thought that was cool. Just started playing it, and well, here we are now. I've been hooked on it since, and there has never been a period where I've not come back to it after at least 2 months. I do have to take month-long breaks here and there, but that's pretty much for every game. But no matter, for whatever reason that break started, I've always ended up back at this game. And I feel like because I've been playing it for the last 3 years of it existing, I have dealt with and pushed through these problems enough to warrant being qualified enough to bring it up and hope for someone to share this video around. I want to see the game do well because I've been involved in it for so long and don't like seeing the state it is in as of right now. This big problem, of course, is the fact that so much of the game relies on RNG aspects. And before we really get into it, since this game is mostly played by younger kids, and I really don't need a Twitter hate mob on me, this isn't all sunshines and rainbows. If you can't handle negativity towards something, it's your own fault for sticking around past this point. Anyway, we're moving on. Anyone that has played the game even once knows what I'm talking about. The first quest line already has you dealing with randomness. Spawn rates of the ghosts and having to get lucky enough to get acorns or antenna parts immediately are shown off right here in the first 15 minutes. And they never leave. Not in the 15 or so hours it takes to finish the game nowadays. It's there from start to finish, the entire time. Granted, it really isn't that big a problem in the early game, with the biggest spot of it being an issue starting in the ocean section of the Pirate Bay area. I don't have any gripes with the first quarter of the game, that being up until the ocean segment, that is, so I'm not going to be bringing it up except for that one example. At the time of writing, it is currently update 100. I'm proud to say that I've been here through most of these updates, although please bring back the Atlantis zone and make it a permanent area. That was a really, really cool zone to be exploring around in. But I'm surprised to not to see that a lot hasn't been done to deal with this RNG problem. It normally isn't that big a problem until you find entire quest lines that are built around finding specific ghosts, which really doesn't get to be a bad thing until you go through 2 full rotations of spawn areas to find one specific ghost that you're looking for. Because the spawn rates are just really, really annoying, and they don't care about you. I can't tell you how many times I've been stuck trying to get one more of the Zorgs in the knockoff Area 51, or another mermaid in the ocean just to finish off the 4th quest in a single quest line that requires them. It gets so bad at times that I start begging to get one of the ring quests or one to let me go find a missing boot or something just to take a break from waiting on something that really shouldn't take as long as it does. But it doesn't even stop there. It still somehow gets worse. Items are some of the most painstaking things to get in the game. I'm not talking about antenna parts. Those are really simple. So are gems. The problem is getting the special items dropped. What would you like to know why? Because in order to get them, you have to wade through the piles and piles of said antenna parts and gems just to get two of them at once. It is possible to clear out an entire area of ghosts and not get a single special item from any of them. I assume it's a 33% chance for all three of them, but I swear it's more like 10% for some areas because of how rare it is to get these items. The biggest offender of this is the ice cave. Well, yes, you might get up to 4 tusks in a single drop, or 8 with the double items game pass. You have to be lucky enough to get that drop in the first place. The first playthrough of the game I did, I only managed to make it halfway through the game, which was up to the desert at that time, before I just gave in and bought the double items game pass. It did help quite a bit, but I'm still finding myself spending hours in a single area, mostly in the back door, but that's a whole other story and I'll get to it in a little bit, just to progress to the next area and repeat 20 times over. Just for this video, I went through the entire wiki to write down how many of every item was needed to finish all the main quests and make it to Bloxbite HQ. Going back to that Tusk example, it takes 50 in total. That doesn't sound like a lot until you realize your chances of getting 13 ghosts to immediately drop 4 tusks at once is around 4.29%. Realistically, no one's going to ever get that because you are so much more likely to end up getting 1 or 2 tusks at once. And as soon as you get all 50, you'd never have to go back there unless you want to open the gem box. But there's really no point in that because of how many gems you get, because they rob you of the items you should be getting instead. The only thing tusks aren't even the hardest thing to get in the overworld. That mantle goes to pearls. It takes 460 pearls to finish every main quest that needs them. And from what I remember, you get up to 4 pearls again, which is another 8 for double item players. You would need 58 ghosts, either the divers or mermaids, in a row to drop the max number of pearls to be done in the fastest time possible. You get an 8.25% chance to get a drop of items at 4 at a time. But 58 times in a row brings that down to a 0.425% chance. Again, it just isn't realistically possible and would most likely end up with players taking over 100 ghosts just to get through this one area, which sucks all the fun out of playing through these areas. Now, I'm sure you thought it can't get worse than this. But oh boy, you must be really sheltered. Because yeah, it can. The last quest of Blaze's line needs you to get a gobbly pet from one of the crates. I know it isn't required to finish the game, but for anyone just starting off, this is going to be the bane of their existence. Most people are going to try to get the lantern from box 1 because it's the cheapest for throwing yourself at for 30 minutes at a time to hope you get a pet that really isn't even worth it. I mean, seriously, if you are trying to get the lantern for any reason other than filling out your pet journal, just leave it. Upgrading one of the rares or the legendaries from the exact same box ends up getting you a far better deal than wasting your time trying to get the lantern. Getting back on track though, There really is no reason someone should have to deal with even more RNG just to get a mostly useless pet if it's from Crate 1, to end up with an okay looking hoverboard and a pet that will be replaced almost immediately in the back door. Now, I will admit this section is a little nitpicky since it isn't even required, but I myself spent 2 weeks getting gems, spending gems, finishing other quests, and completing the game up until the point it was able to be finished too, all before getting a single godly. Yes, I'm going to be nitpicky over that. What makes it worse is that this isn't the only quest that requires it. There are at least 3 other quest lines that need you to either get one or multiple godly pets to finish them, and that is the most aggravating part of the game. Most people will resort to just paying Robux to avoid these quests so they can move on already, instead of spending way too much time trying to get a pet that will probably be deleted immediately because they will have ended up reaching Blocksprite HQ already. If nothing else in this video ends up changing, then please at least remove these quests. It is the worst thing this game has ever added in that isn't a core mechanic. But moving on though, those are the issues RNG adds in the overworld, and usually that takes me about 4 or so hours to clear. That is with double coins, double items, extra agility, and the pet loadout you have probably seen in the background recording a few times. Ghost World, on the other hand, only takes around 2.5. There's really no large gripes about it aside from Grimm's attacks and the low gravity really not pairing well, but that's not as big of an issue as this RNG at all. But now that leaves only one area of the game, and I dread dealing with it every time I rebirth. The back door is easily the most affected area because of how much luck is included in it. In a strange twist though, it isn't the items that cause the problems here, aside from the hay bales and satellites. It's actually the advanced parts that no one seems to get. To get all the antenna upgrades to make it through the overworld, you need 4,463 parts, which seems like a lot, but isn't that big of a problem because of just how common they are, and how much they steal other items from you. For advanced parts, you need only 1,065 of them to make it through the back door. That seems like they should be so much easier to grab because it's less than 1/4 of the amount needed for the overworld, but in reality it takes over twice the amount of time to clear the entire zone just because of the advanced parts. Nothing seems to drop them. It honestly seems like the devs just swapped the non-existent rates of items and wanted to do a bit of trolling when replacing them with the advanced part rates. I can't tell you how tired I get at the back door just because of how long it takes to finish the entire area, and by the time I'm done, I only go back to get gum for the boss fight. I try to avoid rebirthing by wasting time with the developer boss, just so I can avoid the back door a little longer by doing something that is at least entertaining. With all the issues out of the way, I'd like to propose some ideas to fix these issues caused by the game running off of pure luck, because the game we have here really is special, and I want the team behind it to know they did mostly good in creating it. Now, my first proposal is to get rid of the get one godly pet from whatever crate here. They are the most annoying thing in the game to have dealt with, and I'm 90% certain they are only there to act as a form of income to push people towards spending Robux on the game so that they can just skip over it. I'm imagining something like get all the pets out of the insert rarity here in a single pet crate instead. It still relies on luck, but it's a pet crate gambling system. It's to be expected in any game, really. Plus, it ends up having people look for multiple of the same rarity, which ends up showing the player more high-end pets, and by extension it ends up giving a better team to have higher stats instead of just one mediocre godly. My second proposal is to replace some of the quests asking the player for items or for them to go suck up a ton of ghosts to follow, as the go find X item for whoever fetch quests. Those are the parts of quest lines I remember in a fond light, instead of just, oh yeah, I spent forever trying to find one more spooky ghost because it wouldn't spawn anywhere. More variety in quests keeps players interested in what they are doing, and when the story actually starts coming in with the ghost world, it could work way better in making us feel like we are actually doing something towards it instead of just shoving ghosts into a vacuum cleaner. Lona's questline is the perfect example of how the two types could blend together to have a good mix between grinding and searching. But aside from those two larger fixes, just please increase the chances of getting items at advanced parts. It's not fun to get these two over anything else and would just be a quality of life change that everyone would enjoy. But that's about it. I really have enjoyed the game so far, but the 2018 simulator trend of making it take forever to finish to artificially increase the playtime got old really quickly, and I'd like to see it go so that we can finally see it become the game it could so easily be. If any of the dev team is watching, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not mad over anything, even if my tone says otherwise. I just feel really passionate about this. So let's spread the word to hopefully have some change, and maybe we can have a better ghost simulator. Thank you all for sticking around this long, and I'm sure that I screwed up a few times because this is only my third attempt, and I'm trying to read it all off in one go. But that's all for now. I'll see you whenever I actually stop being lazy and upload again. Yeah, that's it. Peace.